I'm Megan Wagner, candidate for Superior Court Judge. As a Deputy District Attorney in the Major Fraud Unit, I prosecute financial predators who defraud senior citizens. I know the importance of punishing those who prey on your community and am endorsed by Sheriff Hutchins, DA Rackauckus, police associations, and over 50 judges. Before becoming a prosecutor, I was a business lawyer for over 20 years. I know the justice system and will make it work for you as a tough, fair, and hardworking judge.
Welcome back. Well, as you probably know, on June 7th is the primary election in California, but it's also a lot of state and local elections as well. And you can't get much more local than county judges. And we have on Megan Wagner here today. You just saw that spot. I'd like to welcome you.
Thank you very much.
It's good to see you.
Nice to see you again.
And when it comes to judges, as we were just talking about, there are going to be 4 races on the ballot this time.
Right.
And often people might get confused because the way they're laid out, sometimes it's an office number. Sometimes I think I've even seen where it says a room number or something.
Right.
But in general, it's for different different ones that have become available. And they kind of use that office number or whatever. It comes up more as a category rather than anything else, right?
Yeah. No, I'm running in office number 3. And in particular, I'm running to replace the retiring judge, Gail Andler, who's just a fabulous judge and very, very well regarded here in Orange County, and I'm very honored to have been endorsed by Judge Andler. So I'm running to replace her. I have 2 opponents in that particular race. Mm-hmm. And as you said, there are 4 contested judicial races in Orange County this year, and all 4 will be on everybody's ballot. So it's all countywide.
Okay.
Then within each seat, for example, for office number 3, each voter will choose one person for that one seat.
All right, so people get to vote 4 times?
Yes.
Okay, just one person each time.
Perfect.
So remember that. You're currently a deputy district attorney, right?
That's correct.
And you started out in private practice?
I did. I had an unusual career path. Typically people will do the government lawyer stuff first and get the experience, and then go on and make a lot of money, which is a great financial plan. I went about it a little bit backward. I went to UCLA as an undergrad. I graduated with honors. I did political science. In particular, I did international relations with the idea that I wanted to be an international lawyer because that sounded like it'd be really cool. And so then I went on to law school. I graduated with honors from UC Berkeley. And from there, I got a job with a very large national firm, which was becoming an international firm, Morgan, Lewis & Bockius, in their international practice. And specifically, Morgan Lewis had just opened up the very first U.S. law firm office in Tokyo. It had been closed to Americans until the mid-'80s, and Morgan Lewis opened up an office there, and I was the second associate that was hired to support that office. So I did a lot of immigration work. I did the international transfer of intellectual property contracts, distribution contracts.
So were you based out of Tokyo or based here on behalf of the Tokyo?
I was based here in Los Angeles, which with the time difference worked out really well for the firm, because our partner who was there, just a highly regarded international lawyer, Elmer Stone, would negotiate all day, and when he'd come back the next morning, the contracts would be all written up because we're back over on Pacific time, working all day and into the night to get things done.
Yeah, I bet that was fascinating, the intellectual property.
It really was.
As you see, nowadays with all the tech lawsuits going back and forth, that really gets into the minutia of things.
And especially with the Pacific Rim practice.
Yeah.
So it was cutting edge. Cellular technology was just taking off.
Yeah.
When I first started practicing, there weren't cell phones, and within a few years, there were cell phones that were the size of a man's shoe.
Yes.
And then obviously things have taken off from there.
Interesting.
So I did that for a while, and then, as luck would have it, I got called for jury duty. And I encourage everybody who gets called for jury duty to go serve, because it's civic duty, and it's important, it's critical to have our justice system have jurors there willing to participate. But for a selfish reason, it's also a fascinating process. I mean, suddenly you're in a group dynamic with 11 strangers and having to come to a group decision, and thrust into it. So it's an interesting process. But I came back from that experience serving on 2 juries and said, that looks like a lot more fun. So I asked to transfer to litigation.
Okay.
So I then did business litigation, complex business litigation, real estate litigation, that sort of thing for over 20 years. I continued doing some transactional work. And I did that for a long period of time. And then in 2011, I had an opportunity that I just couldn't say no to. It was an opportunity to join the DA's office prosecuting major fraud cases. So it was a good transition for me because I was able to use everything I had learned over 2 decades as a business lawyer to be able to stop financial predators and to get to serve the public and to promote victims' rights and to try to obtain justice for victims of financial crimes. And
of course, in this community, that's very important.
It is, and you raise a really good point because these folks who commit these financial crimes, these scammers, they target people who they think are more likely to fall prey to their fraud and the senior community, has assets because they've been saving all of their lives. It's a trusting group,
right?
And it's a group that wants to help people. So charitable type frauds are very prevalent. They're a group that want to stay on the right side of the law, and so if they get one of the frauds that's going on right now is somebody calls up and says they're from the IRS. Right. And says that your house is going to be liened. We're going to be doing all these terrible things unless you send us money right now. And it sounds legitimate.
Yeah.
The IRS doesn't make those phone calls.
No, they don't.
They just don't. But people don't know that.
Yeah.
And so protecting particularly senior citizens from financial fraud is a huge goal of our office because if you're 30 or 40 and you lose money, you can make it back.
Right.
If you're 60 or 70 and you lose your nest egg, you can't.
Right, exactly. So now you're looking at being a judge, and you've gotten a lot of endorsements along the way. You're including the Sheriff Hutchins, right?
Yes, I have. Sheriff Hutchins endorsed me very early on, and I'm so very proud of having that endorsement. She is just a fabulous leader within not just the law enforcement community, but the Orange County community, and I'm very proud to have that endorsement. But I've also received a lot of endorsements from rank and file police officers. So the Association of Orange County Deputy Sheriffs endorsed me, as well as a large number of police associations. And so I'm very proud of that because I've been in law enforcement now since for almost 5 years, and to be honored by their endorsement is to me just a huge compliment. And I just wanted to toss in one of the other high points of my short career here in the DA's office is in 2015, I was named Prosecutor of the Year for Southern California by the International Association of Financial Crime Investigators. So it's one of the most prestigious groups of law enforcement and private sector investigators for financial crimes, and honored me to as the top prosecutor from San Luis Obispo all the way down to San Diego County.
Wow.
And that was, having been in the office for a few years. So that was a very high point of mine.
Let me ask you, being that once you're sitting on the bench, if you are elected to do so, there are parameters you must follow that every judge, it doesn't matter who gets elected to this. So what makes a good judge? Because you don't have the same latitude as, say, somebody running for being an assembly person or something like that, right?
Fair point. What makes a good judge, I believe, are a number of things. I think having the right perspective, having experienced a number of different aspects of both your professional and your personal life is important, because you need to put the information that you receive into context.
Right.
And I think in that regard, having been both a prosecutor and having worked with victims and worked with law enforcement, that gives me a certain perspective.
Sure.
Having been a business attorney gives me a certain perspective. I've also handled probate matters and estate planning matters. And so, that broad perspective, I think, is very helpful. I think having a general sense of fairness is critical to being a judge, because you're not there to slant the table one way or the other. You're there to fairly apply the law to the facts that are before you. And again, I think my experience gives me that level of fairness. As a prosecutor, I represent the people of the state of California, and that includes criminal defendants.
Yeah.
And people don't always realize that, but a critical part of my job is to make sure that the rights of every defendant or every suspect that comes within my purview, that those rights are protected.
Right, exactly.
And so, nowhere else in the legal system does a lawyer have that obligation. Every other lawyer is there to protect the rights of their particular client,
exactly.
and to vigorously go after the rights of that particular client. And they don't have to look at all sides. And as a prosecutor, I do. And I think hard work. You're a public servant, you're getting paid, and you should be there, at 8:30 in the morning until the court closes, and you should be spending the time to listen to the arguments of the parties, to read the papers of the parties, to do whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that you come up with the right result under the law.
I want to give everyone your website, and I think it's pretty easy to find. Wagner 4Judge, the number 4. So Wagner4Judge.com is the website. You can find out about Megan there. And also you list a lot of your endorsements. I understand your father is a retired judge, so I think you got a lot of great experience with international law, and all the way from local prosecuting and being a deputy DA. You kind of run the gamut, don't you?
I think
you got the experience.
I think I have a unique set of experiences for running for judge.
You certainly do. Well, if you become judge and maybe a case comes to you, Apple versus Samsung, you'll know what to do, right? And everything in between.
I've covered a lot of areas of law.
You certainly have.
All right.
It's
Thank
great
you very
to
much.
meet you.
It's nice to talk with you.
We'll be right back. Yeah, that's fascinating.